Eleanor Hartford sat in the corner of the train car, watching the world outside change from cities to empty land. 8 months ago, she had buried her husband. Now his family was sending her away like unwanted trash. She was only 26 years old. Her husband, Thomas Hartford, had been dead since winter. He drank too much whiskey, and one night his heart just stopped. Eleanor had cried at his funeral, but not because she loved him. She cried because she was finally free from a cold marriage. Thomas had married her because her father owned businesses. He never loved her. He barely talked to her. After Thomas died, Eleanor stayed in the big Hartford house in Boston. She worked with the family business, a textile company that made cloth and sold it across the country. Eleanor was good with numbers. Her father had taught her about business before he died. She could read account books and find problems that others missed. That was her mistake. 2 weeks ago, she sat in the family meeting and looked at the company books. Something was wrong. Money was missing. When she asked about it, her brother-in-law Richard turned red in the face. He stood up and pointed his finger at her. "How dare you question me?" he shouted. "Thomas is barely cold in his grave, and you accuse his family of stealing." Eleanor tried to explain. She was not accusing anyone. She just wanted to understand the numbers. But Richard would not listen. Neither would Thomas's mother or his other brothers. They all turned against her. "You are ungrateful," Thomas's mother said, her voice cold as ice. "We took you in. We gave you a home. And this is how you repay us." The family talked for hours after Eleanor left the room. She could hear their angry voices through the door. That night, Richard came to her room with papers. He told her the family had made a decision. She would leave Boston. They had found a man out west who needed a wife. A cowboy in Colorado Territory. She would go to him and never come back. Eleanor read the papers with shaking hands. The man's name was Jacob Stone. He owned a cattle ranch far from any city. He had written to a marriage broker months ago looking for a wife. The Hartford family had paid the broker to send Eleanor instead. They told the broker she was willing. They told the broker she wanted a fresh start. "You leave in 3 days," Richard said. "Pack your things. The train ticket is already bought." Eleanor wanted to fight. She wanted to scream and refuse, but she had no money of her own. Thomas had left everything to his family. The law said widows had no rights to their husband's property. Eleanor's own father was dead, and her mother had died when she was young. She had no one to help her, no one to turn to. "Why are you doing this?" she asked Richard. He smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "Because you ask too many questions. Because you think you are smarter than men. The frontier will teach you your place. That cowboy will make you into a proper wife. If you are lucky, you will survive." 3 days later, Eleanor stood at the train station with one small trunk. Everything she owned in the world fit in that trunk. Her dresses, her books, her mother's jewelry. The Hartford family did not come to say goodbye. Only Richard came, and only to make sure she got on the train. The train ride took days. Eleanor watched Boston disappear behind her. She watched cities turn into towns. She watched towns turn into nothing but grass and sky. Every mile took her further from everything she knew. Every mile took her closer to a man she had never met. A man who thought he was getting a willing bride. A man who had no idea she was being sent as punishment. When the train finally stopped in a small Colorado town, Eleanor felt sick to her stomach. The town was tiny. Just a few wooden buildings along a dirt road. There were more horses than people. The air smelled like dust and animals. This was nothing like Boston with its brick buildings and clean streets. A tall man stood on the platform. He was older than Eleanor, maybe 35. His skin was dark from the sun. His clothes were simple and worn. His hands looked rough and strong. He held his hat in his hands and looked uncomfortable. "Mrs. Hartford?" he asked. Eleanor nodded. She could not find words. "I am Jacob Stone. I have a wagon for your things." His voice was quiet and deep. He did not smile. He did not seem happy to see her. He looked at her the way someone looks at a problem they have to solve. Jacob picked up her trunk like it weighed nothing. He put it in the back of a wooden wagon. 2 horses stood waiting, tied to a post. Jacob helped Eleanor climb up to the wagon seat. His hand was warm and rough when he touched her arm. Then he climbed up beside her and took the reins. They rode in silence. The town disappeared behind them. There was nothing but empty land in every direction. Grass that moved in the wind like water. Hills in the distance. The sky was bigger than any sky Eleanor had ever seen. It made her feel small and lost. After an hour, Jacob spoke. The ranch is another hour away. It is not fancy, just a house and a barn and land for cattle. Eleanor nodded but said nothing. What could she say? That she did not want to be here? That his family had sent her as punishment? That she knew nothing about ranches or cattle or being a frontier wife? I will do my best to make you comfortable, Jacob said. He still did not look at her. I am not good with words. I work hard. I will provide for you. That is all I can promise. Eleanor felt tears starting in her eyes. She blinked them away. She would not cry. Not in front of this stranger. The Hartford family wanted to break her. They wanted the frontier to destroy her spirit. She would not let them win. I do not need promises, she said quietly. I just need a place to be. Jacob looked at her for the first time. Really looked at her. His eyes were brown and sad. He nodded slowly. Then you have that, he said. This is your place now. For better or worse. The ranch appeared as the sun started to set. It was small. A wooden house that needed paint. A barn that leaned to one side. Fences that were broken in places. A few cattle in the distance. This was her new home. This was her punishment. This was supposed to break her. Jacob stopped the wagon in front of the house. He helped Eleanor down and carried her trunk inside. The house was clean but plain. Simple furniture. A kitchen with a wood stove. 2 bedrooms, you can have the larger bedroom, Jacob said. I will sleep in the other one. He showed her the room. It had a bed, a dresser, and a small window. Nothing like her room in Boston. But it was clean and it was hers. I will let you rest, Jacob said. There is food in the kitchen if you are hungry. Tomorrow we can talk about how things will work. He left, closing the door behind him. Eleanor sat on the bed and looked around her new room. Her new prison. Her new life. She did not cry. She was done crying. The Hartford family had sent her here to fail. They expected her to write back begging to come home. They expected her to break, but Eleanor Hartford was stronger than they knew. She had survived a loveless marriage. She had survived losing everything. She would survive this too. And somehow, some way, she would prove them all wrong. The sun set outside her window. The last light faded from the sky. Eleanor lay down on the bed, still wearing her travel dress. Tomorrow would come soon enough. Tomorrow she would figure out how to live in this strange new world. For now, she just needed to breathe, to exist, to remember who she was before the Hartford family tried to erase her. She was Eleanor. She was smart. She was strong. And this was not the end of her story. It was just a new beginning, even if it did not feel like it yet. Outside, she heard Jacob moving around, heard him talking softly to the horses, heard the sounds of a ranch settling in for the night. These were sounds she would need to learn. This was a life she would need to understand, but not tonight. Tonight she just needed to survive her first day in exile. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges. For now, she closed her eyes and let exhaustion take her into sleep. The first morning came too early. Eleanor woke to sounds she did not understand. Animals making noise, roosters crowing, the sound of boots on wood floors. She opened her eyes and forgot where she was for a moment. Then she remembered. Colorado, the ranch, Jacob Stone, her punishment. She got out of bed and looked at herself in the small mirror on the dresser. Her hair was a mess. Her dress was wrinkled from sleeping in it. She looked tired and lost. But she forced herself to stand straight. The Hartford family would not win. Eleanor changed into a clean dress. It was one of her Boston dresses made of fine fabric with buttons down the front. It was beautiful but wrong for a ranch. She did not have anything else to wear. When she opened her bedroom door, she smelled coffee. Jacob was in the kitchen standing by the stove. He had already been outside. His boots were dusty. He looked up when she came in but did not smile. "Morning," he said. "Coffee is ready. I made breakfast." On the table was bread, bacon, and eggs. Simple food, but it looked good. Eleanor realized she was hungry. She had not eaten since yesterday morning on the train. "Thank you," she said quietly. They sat at the table and ate in silence. Eleanor did not know what to say. Jacob did not seem to know either. He ate quickly, like a man who had work to do. Eleanor tried to eat slowly, like she had been taught in Boston. But here, being proper felt silly. After breakfast, Jacob stood up. "I have to check the cattle and fix some fence. There is food in the pantry if you get hungry." I will be back for supper." Then he was gone. Eleanor heard him ride away on a horse. She was alone in the strange house. She washed the dishes in a bucket of water. She looked around the house. Everything was simple but clean. Jacob took care of his home. But there were no pictures on the walls, no decorations, no sign that a woman had ever lived here. It was a lonely house. Eleanor tried to make herself useful. She swept the floors. She organized the pantry. She tried to cook supper. She had never cooked much before. In Boston, the Hartford family had servants who cooked. Her own mother had died when she was young, so she never learned. She found chicken and vegetables. She tried to make a stew, but she did not know how much wood to put in the stove. The fire got too hot. The stew burned at the bottom. The whole house filled with smoke. When Jacob came back that evening, he found Eleanor sitting at the table crying in front of a pot of burned food. He looked at the pot. He looked at her. He did not say anything mean. He just opened the windows to let the smoke out. "I cannot cook," Eleanor said, angry at herself. "I cannot do anything useful here. I am useless." Jacob sat down across from her. "You are from the city. You do not know ranch life yet. That does not make you useless. Your family paid for a wife, someone to cook and clean and help, but I cannot even make supper without burning it." Jacob was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised her. "I did not ask for a wife who could cook. I asked for a wife who could talk to me at supper. I have been alone for 3 years. My parents died and my brother went east. I just wanted someone here so the house felt less empty." Eleanor looked up at him. His face was serious, sad. He was lonely. Just like her. "I cannot cook," she said again, "but I can talk." Jacob almost smiled, almost. "Then that will have to be enough. Come on, I will teach you to make eggs. Everyone should know how to make eggs." He showed her how to work the stove, how to keep the fire at the right heat, how to crack eggs and cook them in a pan. It was simple once someone showed her. Eleanor felt a little less useless. They ate eggs and bread for supper. It was not fancy, but it was not burned. It was a start. The next days were hard. Eleanor tried to learn ranch life, but everything was difficult. She did not know how to work the stove properly. She did not know how to preserve food. She did not know how to sew her own clothes when they tore. She did not know anything useful. Jacob left every morning before the sun came up. He worked all day with the cattle and the fences and the land. He came back tired and dirty. Eleanor tried to have food ready, but she failed more than she succeeded. Jacob never yelled at her. He just ate whatever she made, even when it was bad. Sometimes he showed her a better way to do things, but mostly he was quiet. Eleanor felt angry all the time. Angry at the Hartford family for sending her here. Angry at Jacob for being so quiet and distant. Angry at herself for being so helpless. She wrote letters to friends in Boston. Long, bitter letters about how terrible her life had become. But she could not afford to mail them. So she kept them in her drawer, unread by anyone but herself. At night, Eleanor lay in her bed and listened to the sounds of the ranch. It was too quiet. In Boston, there were always sounds. Carriages on the street. People talking. The city never slept. Here there was just wind and animal sounds and silence. It made her feel more alone than she had ever felt. A month passed like this. Eleanor and Jacob lived in the same house, but they were like strangers. They did not fight. They just existed near each other, both trapped in a situation neither wanted. One night, Eleanor could not sleep. She got up and went to the kitchen for water. She found Jacob sitting at the table with papers spread out in front of him. He had a lamp burning and he was writing numbers in a book. "I am sorry," Eleanor said. "I did not mean to bother you." Jacob looked up. He looked tired, worried. "You are not bothering me. I am just working on the accounts." The ranch accounts. Eleanor stopped. Accounts, numbers, books. These were things she understood. These were things she was good at. "May I look?" she asked. Jacob seemed surprised. "You want to look at ranch accounts?" "I am good with numbers. My father taught me about business. Before I married Thomas, I helped my father with his accounts." Jacob pushed the book toward her. "I would be grateful for another pair of eyes. I think something is wrong, but I cannot figure out what." Eleanor sat down and pulled the lamp closer. She looked at Jacob's account book. His handwriting was messy, but she could read it. She saw his income from selling cattle. She saw his expenses for feed and supplies. She saw payments to his ranch hand. She turned pages, studying the numbers. Something was wrong. She could feel it. The numbers did not add up right. How many cattle do you have? She asked. About 200 head, Jacob said. Maybe a few less. But you sold 50 last month, according to this. And you sold 40 the month before. But your money from the sales is less than it should be. Jacob leaned forward. What do you mean? Eleanor pointed to the numbers. Cattle are selling for about $30 each right now. 50 cattle should bring you $1,500, but you only got $1,200. Where did the other $300 go? Jacob stared at the book. The buyer said prices were down. He said that was the best he could do. Maybe, but you should check. And look here. You paid your ranch hand $60 last month. But you also have an expense marked supplies for $30. What supplies? I do not know. Tom, my ranch hand, he bought supplies in town. He said the ranch needed them. Eleanor kept reading. You paid Tom for 3 months. But 2 months ago you have this payment marked cattle medicine, $60. That is a lot of money for medicine. Did you see the medicine? Jacob's face went hard. No, Tom said the cattle needed it. He said he bought it in town. Eleanor looked up at Jacob. I think your ranch hand has been stealing from you. The words hung in the air between them. Jacob stood up and walked to the window. He stared out into the darkness. His hands were in fists. Tom left 2 weeks ago, Jacob said quietly. He said he got a better job in Wyoming. I trusted him. He worked here for a year. Did he leave suddenly? Eleanor asked. Yes. One morning he just said he was done. He packed his things and rode away. I thought it was strange, but I did not question it. Eleanor kept looking through the books. The more she looked, the more she saw. Small amounts of money missing. Expenses that did not make sense. Cattle sales that paid too little. Tom had been stealing for months. Maybe the whole year he worked here. How much did he take? Jacob asked. His voice was quiet but angry. Eleanor added numbers in her head. Maybe $800. Maybe more. It is hard to tell for certain. Jacob hit his hand against the wall. Not hard enough to break anything. Just hard enough to show his anger. $800. That is almost a year of profit. They sat in silence for a while. Eleanor felt useful for the first time since she arrived. She had found something important. She had helped. What do I do? Jacob asked. He looked lost. You write to the marshal, Eleanor said. You show him these books. You explain what happened. Maybe they can find Tom and make him pay back what he took. Jacob nodded slowly. Will you help me write the letter? I am not good with words. Yes, Eleanor said. I will help you. They worked together for the next hour. Eleanor wrote a clear letter explaining the theft. She listed all the evidence she had found in the books. Jacob told her everything he remembered about Tom, where he came from, where he said he was going. Every detail might help. When they finished, the sun was starting to come up. Jacob looked at Eleanor differently than he had before. With something like respect, thank you, he said. I could not have found this without you. I'm not educated like you. I can read and write, but I am not smart with numbers. You are smart, Eleanor said. You just needed someone to help you see what you were looking for. After finding the stolen money in the books, things began to change. Jacob stopped leaving the house so early. He started having coffee with Eleanor in the morning. They talked about the ranch, about what needed to be done, about the cattle and the fences and the plans for the future. Eleanor threw herself into learning everything she could. She fixed the account books and made them neat and organized. She could see exactly where the ranch was losing money and where it was making money. She wrote down every expense, every sale, every dollar that came in or went out. Jacob appreciated her help. He started asking her opinion about things. Should he sell cattle now or wait for better prices? Should he fix the barn first or the fences? Eleanor did not know about ranching, but she knew about business. She could help him think through decisions. You think like my father did, Jacob said one morning. He always said you should plan ahead, not just react to problems. I am better at working than planning, Eleanor smiled. I am better at planning than working. Maybe together we make one complete person, Jacob laughed. It was the first time she heard him really laugh. The sound made the lonely house feel less empty, but Eleanor still needed to learn ranch work. She could not just sit inside with books all day. Jacob started teaching her. He showed her how to ride a horse properly. Eleanor had ridden in Boston, but only on gentle horses in parks. Ranch horses were different. They were strong and fast and sometimes stubborn. The first time she tried to ride across open land, she fell off. The horse had jumped over a small ditch and Eleanor was not ready. She landed hard on the ground. Jacob rode back to her quickly, worried. "Are you hurt?" he asked, jumping down from his horse. Eleanor sat up. Her dress was dirty. Her pride was hurt more than her body. "I am fine. Just embarrassed." "Everyone falls," Jacob said, "even me. The important thing is getting back on." He helped her up and back onto the horse. Eleanor's hands were shaking, but she did it. She would not give up. The Hartford family thought the frontier would break her. She would prove them wrong. Every day Eleanor got a little better. She learned to stay on the horse even when it moved suddenly. She learned to read the weather by looking at the clouds. She learned which plants were safe for cattle and which were dangerous. She learned the sound a sick cow makes versus a healthy one. Jacob was a patient teacher. He never made her feel stupid when she asked questions. He explained things simply and clearly, and Eleanor was a fast learner. She remembered everything he taught her. One day, Jacob needed to go into town for supplies. He asked Eleanor if she wanted to come. She said yes. She was curious about the town. She had only seen it once when she arrived. The town was small but busy. There was a general store, a bank, a church, and a few other buildings. People stared at Eleanor when she walked down the street with Jacob. She knew what they were thinking. She was the mail-order bride, the city woman who knew nothing about ranch life. At the general store, Eleanor helped Jacob pick out supplies. The store owner, Mr. Henderson, watched her with curious eyes. "Your wife has good sense," he said to Jacob. "She picked the best quality flour and the best price on coffee." Jacob nodded. "Eleanor is smart with money. She has been helping me with the ranch books." Mr. Henderson looked surprised. "A woman who knows numbers? That is unusual." Eleanor felt her face get hot. She did not like being called unusual. But Jacob spoke before she could. "My father always said the smartest person should do the job, man or woman. Eleanor is smarter with books than I am. So she does the books." Eleanor looked at Jacob with surprise. He was defending her, treating her like an equal. It made her feel warm inside. They bought the supplies and loaded them in the wagon. On the way back to the ranch, Eleanor felt lighter, happier. For the first time since leaving Boston, she felt like maybe this life was not a punishment. Maybe it was a chance. "Thank you for what you said in the store," Eleanor said. Jacob looked confused. "I just told the truth. You are good with numbers." Most men would not admit that a woman was smarter than them at anything. Jacob was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "My mother was the smartest person I ever knew. She ran this ranch as much as my father did, maybe more. My father always said a man who cannot see a woman's worth is a fool." "I try not to be a fool," Eleanor smiled. She was starting to understand Jacob better. He was quiet and simple, but he was also good. Truly good. Not like the Hartford men who spoke fancy words but had cruel hearts. Spring turned into summer. The ranch work got harder. There was hay to cut, fences to fix, cattle to move to different grazing land. Eleanor worked alongside Jacob every day. Her soft city hands got calluses. Her pale skin got tan even though she wore a bonnet. Her fancy dresses got ruined, so she started wearing simple work clothes. She was changing, becoming someone new, someone stronger. One night a bad storm came. Thunder shook the house. Lightning lit up the sky. Jacob came to Eleanor's door. "The cattle," he said. "They will panic in this storm. They will run. We have to get them to the shelter of the South Valley, or they will scatter. Some might die." Eleanor did not hesitate. "I will come." "It will be dangerous," Jacob warned. "Then we should not waste time talking." They rode out into the storm together. Rain poured down so hard Eleanor could barely see. Lightning flashed and thunder boomed. The cattle were already running, scared by the noise. Jacob and Eleanor had to ride around them, guiding them toward the valley. Eleanor had never worked so hard in her life. Her arms ached from controlling the horse. Her legs hurt from gripping the saddle. Rain soaked through her clothes. But she did not stop. She could not stop. The cattle needed to be saved. The ranch needed to be saved. For hours they worked in the darkness and storm. Slowly they got the cattle moving in the right direction. Slowly, they guided them to shelter in the valley. By the time the storm started to ease, the cattle were safe. Eleanor and Jacob rode back to the ranch as the sun came up. They were soaking wet, covered in mud, exhausted. Eleanor could barely stay on her horse. When they reached the barn, she tried to climb down, but her legs would not work. She started to fall. Jacob caught her. His arms were strong and steady. For a moment they stood there in the barn, close together. Eleanor looked up at him. His face was tired, but his eyes were warm. "You were amazing tonight," Jacob said quietly. "I could not have saved the herd without you." "We are partners," Eleanor said. "Partners help each other." Something passed between them in that moment. Something more than friendship. Something that made Eleanor's heart beat faster. Jacob felt it too. She could see it in his eyes. But he just helped her walk to the house and made sure she got inside safely. Eleanor changed into dry clothes and fell into bed. She was too tired to think. Too tired to wonder about the feeling that had passed between her and Jacob. She just slept. When she woke up, it was afternoon. Jacob had let her sleep. There was food on the kitchen table and a note. "You worked hard. Rest today. I'm checking on the cattle. Jacob." Eleanor ate and then went outside. Her body hurt everywhere, but it was a good hurt. The hurt of honest work. She walked around the ranch looking at everything with new eyes. The house was not so bad. It was simple, but it could be nice with some work. The garden was overgrown, but it could be beautiful. The barn leaned, but it could be fixed. This place had potential. This place could be a real home. That evening, Jacob came back. Eleanor had made supper. It was not perfect, but it was good. They ate together and talked about the storm, about the cattle, about the ranch. "You were brave last night," Jacob said. "Most women would have stayed inside where it was safe." "I am not most women," Eleanor said. Jacob smiled. "No, you are not." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Jacob spoke again. "Eleanor, can I ask you something?" "Yes." "Why did your family really send you here?" "The marriage broker said you wanted a fresh start. But I do not think that was true." Eleanor took a deep breath. She had not told him the full truth. But he deserved to know. They were partners now. Partners should be honest. She told him everything. About finding the stolen money in the Hartford family books. About how they got angry and accused her of being disrespectful. About how they decided to punish her by sending her away. About how they hoped the frontier would break her spirit. Jacob listened without interrupting. When she finished, his face was hard with anger. "They sent you here as punishment? They thought this would break you?" "Yes, they wanted me gone and silenced. They wanted me to fail." Jacob shook his head. "Then they are fools. Greater fools than I thought possible. They did not send you to failure. They sent you to freedom." Eleanor looked at him. "What do you mean?" "Here you can be who you really are. You are smart and strong and brave. In Boston, you had to hide that. You had to be quiet and proper and small. Here, you can be big. You can use your mind. You can work hard and build something. The Hartford family thought they were punishing you. But they set you free." Eleanor felt tears in her eyes. Good tears. Jacob was right. She had been so angry about being sent away. But here, she could be herself. She could use all the skills her father taught her. She could work alongside a man who respected her. She could build a life that mattered. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" "For seeing me. The real me. Not the person the Hartford family wanted me to be. Not the proper Boston lady. Just me." Summer turned to fall and the ranch changed with the seasons. The hard work of summer started to pay off. The cattle were healthy and growing. The fences were fixed. The barn had been repaired and no longer leaned. Eleanor's kitchen garden produced vegetables that she preserved for winter. The ranch looked better than it had in years. But more than the ranch had changed. Eleanor and Jacob had changed too. They worked together every day like two parts of one whole. Jacob handled the physical work of the ranch while Eleanor managed the business side. Together they made the ranch successful in ways Jacob never could have alone. The marshal had written back about Tom, the thieving ranch hand. They found him in Wyoming and arrested him. Some of the stolen money was recovered. Not all of it, but enough to help. Jacob used the money to hire 2 new ranch hands. Good men who worked hard and did not steal. With help on the ranch, Jacob did not have to work from dawn to dark anymore. He spent more time with Eleanor. They took rides together across the land. They sat on the porch in the evenings and talked. They made plans for the future. Eleanor found herself looking forward to seeing Jacob every morning. She noticed small things about him. The way he smiled when something made him happy. The kindness in his eyes when he talked to the horses. the gentle way he treated everything around him. He was a good man, the best man she had ever known. Jacob felt the same. Eleanor had transformed his life. The lonely house was now full of warmth. The failing ranch was now successful. But more than that, Eleanor made him want to be better, made him want to work harder, made him feel like he had a future worth building. One evening in October, Jacob asked Eleanor to ride with him to a hilltop on the property. It was a beautiful spot that overlooked the entire ranch. They sat on the grass and watched the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. "I need to tell you something," Jacob said. He sounded nervous. Eleanor turned to look at him. "What is it?" "When you first came here, I thought it was just a practical arrangement. I needed help with the ranch and the loneliness. I thought we would live together like business partners. Nothing more." Eleanor's heart started beating faster. "And now? Now everything is different. You are not just my partner. You are not just the person who lives in my house. Eleanor, you are the best part of my life. When I wake up, I look forward to seeing you. When I am working, I think about what we will talk about at supper. When I go to sleep, I am grateful that you are here." Jacob took her hand. "I know this was not what either of us wanted at first. I know your family forced you here. But Eleanor, I have fallen in love with you. Truly, deeply in love with you. And I need you to know that." Eleanor felt tears on her cheeks. Happy tears. "Jacob, I love you too. I did not expect it. I did not plan it. But somewhere between burning supper and chasing cattle in storms, I fell in love with you. You see me, the real me. You respect me. You treat me as an equal. No one has ever done that before. You deserve respect," Jacob said. "You are smart and strong and brave. Any man who could not see that is a fool. My first husband did not see it. The Hartford family did not see it. They thought I should be quiet and obedient. They thought a woman's only value was in being decorative and producing children." Jacob shook his head. "You are valuable because of who you are, because of your mind and your heart and your spirit. That is what I fell in love with." They kissed as the sun set behind them. It was Eleanor's first real kiss. Thomas had kissed her, but it was cold and obligatory. This was different. This kiss was full of love and promise and hope. This kiss meant everything. When they pulled apart, Jacob smiled. "Will you marry me?" "Really marry me? Not because anyone forced you, but because you choose to. Because you want to build a life with me." "Yes," Eleanor said without hesitation. "Yes, I will marry you." They rode back to the ranch holding hands. Everything looked different now. The house was not just a place to live. It was their home, their future, the place where they would build a life together. The next Sunday, they got married in the small church in town. It was a simple wedding. Just them, the preacher, and a few neighbors. Eleanor wore a simple blue dress. Jacob wore his best shirt. It was nothing like Eleanor's first wedding in Boston, with hundreds of guests and fancy decorations. But this wedding meant more. This wedding was real. After the wedding, life continued, but it was sweeter. Eleanor and Jacob were truly happy. They worked together during the day and sat together in the evenings. They made plans for expanding the ranch. They talked about buying more land, about building a bigger barn, about the future they would create together. The town began to notice the changes at the Stone Ranch. It was thriving in ways it never had before. Other ranchers started asking Jacob for advice. He always told them the truth. "My wife is the smart one," he would say. "She keeps the books organized and helps me make good decisions. A smart partner makes all the difference." Some men laughed at the idea of taking business advice from a woman. But the smart ones listened, and the smart ones prospered. One day, a neighbor named Samuel Carter came to the ranch in distress. The bank was trying to foreclose on his property. He was going to lose everything. His wife was crying. His children were scared. "I do not understand," Samuel said, showing Jacob and Eleanor the bank papers. "I have been making my payments. But they say I owe more than I should. They say I am behind." Eleanor looked at the papers. She studied the numbers carefully. Then she saw it. The bank had been charging Samuel interest on interest. They were adding fees that should not be there. "The numbers were wrong. This is fraud," Eleanor said. "The bank is cheating you. But what can I do?" Samuel asked. "I cannot fight the bank. They have lawyers. They have power." Eleanor looked at Jacob. He nodded. They would help. Eleanor spent the next week gathering evidence. She got copies of Samuel's payment records. She compared them to the bank's claims. She found every error, every unfair charge, every dishonest number. Then she wrote everything down clearly so anyone could understand it. Jacob gathered the other ranchers. He explained what the bank was doing to Samuel. He showed them Eleanor's evidence. The ranchers were angry. If the bank could cheat Samuel, they could cheat anyone. Together, the ranchers went to the bank. All of them. 20 men standing together. Jacob did the talking, but Eleanor stood beside him, holding the evidence. "You will correct Samuel Carter's account," Jacob said to the bank manager. "You will remove the false charges, and you will not try this trick on anyone else. Or we will all move our money to another bank. We will tell everyone in the territory what you did. We will ruin your reputation," the bank manager tried to argue, but he could not fight Eleanor's numbers. They were clear. They were right. And he could not fight 20 angry ranchers standing united. Samuel kept his ranch. The bank corrected his account. And the ranchers learned something important. When they stood together, they had power. After that day, people looked at Eleanor differently. She was not just the mail-order bride anymore. She was not just the city woman who did not belong. She was Eleanor Stone, the woman who saved Samuel Carter's ranch, the woman who understood numbers and was not afraid to fight for what was right. Jacob was so proud of her. "You are amazing," he told her that night. "You helped save a family today." "We helped save a family," Eleanor corrected. "I found the evidence, but you got everyone to stand together." "We are partners, remember?" "Partners," Jacob agreed. "In everything." The ranch continued to grow. In late fall, they had their best cattle sale ever. Eleanor had negotiated with buyers until she got the best price. The ranch made more profit in one season than it had in 3 years before Eleanor arrived. Jacob used some of the money to buy Eleanor a gift. It was a beautiful horse, gentle but strong, a horse that was truly hers. "You need your own horse," Jacob said when he showed it to her. "You work as hard as any ranch hand. You deserve a horse that is yours alone." Eleanor cried when she saw it, not because of the horse, though it was beautiful, but because Jacob saw her as an equal, because he valued her work, because he loved her. Winter came and the ranch settled into a quieter rhythm. Jacob and Eleanor spent long evenings by the fire, talking and making plans. They had paid off old debts. They had money saved. They were building something real and lasting. One night Eleanor told Jacob her news. She was going to have a baby. They would be parents by summer. Jacob held her close, his eyes full of tears. "A baby, our baby. Are you happy?" Eleanor asked. "Happy?" "Eleanor, I am the luckiest man in the world. I have the woman I love. I have a successful ranch, and now we will have a family. I never dreamed my life could be this good." Eleanor rested her head on his shoulder. "The Hartford family sent me here to punish me, to break me, to make me suffer. And instead?" Jacob asked. "Instead, I found everything I ever wanted. I found work that matters. I found a place where I belong. I found respect and partnership and love. They thought they were punishing me, but they gave me the greatest gift of my life." Jacob kissed the top of her head. "Their loss is my gain." They sat together by the fire, planning their future, planning the nursery they would build, planning the life they would give their child, planning all the dreams that were now possible because two people who never expected to find love had found each other. Spring arrived with new life everywhere. The cattle had new calves. The garden was starting to grow. And Eleanor's belly was growing too. The baby would come in just a few months. Jacob was both excited and nervous about becoming a father. "What if I am not good at it?" he asked Eleanor one morning. "You will be wonderful," Eleanor assured him. "You are patient and kind. Those are the most important things." The ranch was doing better than ever. With Eleanor managing the business and Jacob managing the work, they had turned the struggling property into one of the most successful ranches in the territory. Other ranchers came to them for advice. The bank treated them with respect now. The town saw them as leaders. Eleanor had started teaching some of the ranchers' wives about keeping account books. Many of them could not read or write well. Eleanor taught them slowly and patiently. She showed them how understanding numbers could help their families. The women were grateful to have someone treat their learning as important. Life was good. Eleanor was happy. She had almost forgotten about Boston and the Hartford family. Almost forgotten about the life she left behind. That life seemed like it belonged to a different person now. Then one day in April, a telegram arrived. The telegraph operator rode out to the ranch himself to deliver it. Eleanor's hand shook as she opened it. It was from Richard Hartford, her brother-in-law. The message was short: family business collapsing. Richard arrested for theft. Company needs immediate help. Return to Boston. Take over management. Generous salary. Full control. Please come. We were wrong, family. Eleanor read the telegram 3 times. She could not believe it. Richard, who had been so proud and cruel, had been arrested. Just like Tom the ranch hand, he had been stealing from the family company all along. That was why he got so angry when Eleanor found the missing money. He was afraid she would discover his theft. Now the Hartford Textile Company was failing, and they wanted Eleanor to come back and save it. Jacob came in from working and found Eleanor sitting at the table staring at the telegram. He read it over her shoulder. "They want you to go back," he said quietly. Eleanor heard fear in his voice, fear that she would leave, fear that he would lose her. "Jacob," she started to say. "You should think about it," Jacob said, even though it clearly hurt him to say it. "This is a big opportunity. You could run a major company. You could have money and power and respect in Boston society. You could have the life you were born for." Eleanor stood up and took Jacob's hands. "Look at me." He looked at her. His brown eyes were sad, but he was trying to be brave, trying to do what was right even if it hurt. "Jacob Stone, you are the most foolish man I have ever met if you think I would leave you. If you think I would leave this ranch. If you think I would leave our life together for anything the Hartford family could offer. But Eleanor, this is what you were trained for. Business management. Your father taught you for this. My father taught me so I could build something that matters. I am building something that matters here. With you, this ranch, our family, the community we help. That matters more than any company in Boston. But it is a chance to prove them wrong," Jacob said. "To show them they should not have sent you away." Eleanor smiled. "Jacob, I already proved them wrong. They sent me here to break me, to make me small and quiet and defeated. Instead, I became strong. I became successful. I became happy. I became loved. They wanted to punish me, and instead they set me free. I have already won. I do not need to go back to Boston to prove anything." She put Jacob's hand on her growing belly. "Our child will be born here, on this ranch, in this home. I want our baby to grow up knowing hard work and honest living. I want our child to see parents who love each other and respect each other. I do not want our child growing up in Boston society, where women are decorations and men value money over everything else." Jacob pulled her close. "Are you sure? I do not want you to regret this choice years from now. I am completely sure. Jacob, before I came here, I had never made my own choice about anything. My father chose my school. The Hartford family chose my husband. They chose where I lived and what I did. Coming here was the first time I was forced to choose who I wanted to be. And I chose this. I chose you. I chose this life. And I would choose it 1,000 times over." They held each other for a long time. Then Eleanor sat down and wrote her reply to the telegram. She told the Hartford family she would help them find a good manager for the company. She would review their books remotely and give advice if they sent her the documents. She would do this for a fair consulting fee, but she would not return to Boston. Her home was in Colorado now. Her life was here with her husband and their soon-to-be-born child. She also told them that she forgave them for sending her away. Because if they had not done it, she never would have found her true path. She never would have discovered her own strength. She never would have met Jacob. So in a strange way, she was grateful. Jacob mailed the telegram the next day. A week later, a thick envelope arrived with all the Hartford Company documents. Eleanor spent evenings reviewing them while Jacob sat beside her, reading ranch supply catalogs or working on his own projects. They were comfortable together, partners in everything. Eleanor found the problems in the Hartford books just like she found the problems in Jacob's books. She wrote clear instructions for fixing them. She recommended a competent manager who could run the company honestly. She did all of this quickly and efficiently. Then she sent everything back to Boston with a bill for her consulting services. The Hartford family paid her fee without complaint. They were desperate. They needed her help, but they could not have her back. That chapter of Eleanor's life was closed. As spring turned to summer, Eleanor got ready for the baby. The ranchers' wives helped her prepare. They brought baby clothes their own children had outgrown. They taught her how to care for a newborn. They welcomed her into their community as one of their own. Jacob built a cradle with his own hands. He worked on it every evening, sanding the wood smooth so there were no rough edges. He wanted everything perfect for their child. One evening, Eleanor and Jacob sat on the porch watching the sunset. Eleanor's belly was very large now. The baby would come any day. "Do you ever miss Boston?" Jacob asked. Eleanor thought about it honestly. "Sometimes I miss small things. The library, the theater, certain foods. But I do not miss the life I had there. I do not miss being someone's decoration, being told what to think and what to do, being valued for my family name instead of for myself." "What do you value most about this life?" Jacob asked. "Freedom," Eleanor said immediately. "Freedom to be myself. Freedom to use my mind. Freedom to work hard and see the results of that work. Freedom to love someone who loves me back as an equal. The Hartford family gave me that freedom when they sent me here, even though they meant it as punishment." Jacob took her hand. "You gave me freedom too. Freedom from loneliness. Freedom to dream bigger. Freedom to believe I could build something important. We freed each other." 2 weeks later, on a warm June morning, Eleanor gave birth to a baby girl. The birth was hard, but Eleanor was strong. Jacob stayed with her the whole time, holding her hand and encouraging her. When the baby finally came, crying and healthy, Jacob cried too. They named her Margaret Rose Stone after both their mothers. Maggie, for short. She had Eleanor's dark hair and Jacob's brown eyes. She was perfect. The whole community celebrated. Neighbors brought food and gifts. The ranchers' wives helped Eleanor learn to care for the baby. Everyone loved little Maggie. Jacob was a devoted father. He held Maggie for hours, talking to her softly. He helped with nighttime feedings. He changed diapers without complaint. He was exactly the kind of father Eleanor knew he would be. One night, when Maggie was a month old, Eleanor sat in the rocking chair nursing the baby. Jacob sat nearby, watching them with love in his eyes. "I have been thinking," Eleanor said, "about how I got here, about everything that happened." "What about it?" Jacob asked. "The Hartford family meant to hurt me when they sent me here. They wanted me to suffer. They wanted me to fail. They wanted to break my spirit. But instead they gave me the greatest gift of my life." Eleanor looked around their home, at the cradle Jacob built, at the curtains she had sewn, at the books on the shelf and the pictures on the wall, at all the signs of a real home filled with love. "They gave me you," she continued. "They gave me this ranch and this community. They gave me the chance to discover who I really am and what I am capable of. They gave me Maggie. They gave me a real life with real purpose. If I had stayed in Boston, I would have been miserable forever. But here I am happy, truly happy. So in a way, you should thank them," Jacob said with a small smile. Eleanor laughed softly. "In a way, yes, though I will not write them a thank you letter. They do not need to know that their punishment was actually a blessing. Let them think they hurt me. The truth is sweeter this way." The summer passed peacefully. Maggie grew strong and healthy. The ranch continued to prosper. Eleanor managed the accounts while caring for the baby. Jacob worked the land while helping with Maggie whenever he could. They were a family. A real family built on love and respect and partnership. Other families in the territory heard their story.